Welcome back. Now, A Plastic Crown is a solo exhibition by Phumzile Khanyile, one of the recipients of the Giselle Vulcan Mentorship in Photography. The artwork inquires stereotypical ideas of gender, sexual preference, and related stigmas within the society. This is illustrated on how the photographer finds herself wrestling with the contestation of this in-between space. Here to give us more insight and explain all of that is artist Phumzile Khanyile. Phumzile, thank you very much for joining me. And let's put that mouthful. The artwork inquires stereotypical ideas of gender, sexual preferences, and related stigmas within the society. What does that mean?
Well, the backdrop of this body of work was my own personal story of being raised by my gran, who had her own ideas of what it means to be a woman. And a lot of those ideas were stereotypical about women having to get married and the whole cleaning, domestic work. And in my context, or in the time that I'm living in right now, I am really wrestling with those ideas and trying to unpack where they come from, and at the same time trying to redefine what being a woman is for myself. So that's the reference of the body of work, and that's where the whole idea kind of started. And
But this was an evolution of an idea. So I can only imagine that from where you started thinking about it to where it actually morphed itself into some physical idea, there must have been a lot of research and trying to understand whether your perception was an isolated issue.
Well, it started because it started at home. I had to first ask questions at home.
Sorry to interrupt there, but was those challenging questions? Did the people look at you and go like, why are you asking these?
It was because I think it's never been issues that are raised easily, or that are discussed over, supper and stuff like that. So it was a conscious decision to want to figure out, where my family comes from and how these ideas came about, in order for me to know how to explore and to challenge and to, question and to do my own thing, So, of course, there was also reading other references and listening to other stories. The body of work doesn't necessarily come from my own perspective. It's also from friends and from
because
people around.
That then leads to the next question. Are you trying to orchestrate a conversation, or are you wanting somebody to experience it and come up with a set of questions that maybe challenges their norm?
I think I want to spark a conversation. At the same time, I want people to have their own individual experience with the work. And so I really just want to spark it and to start it so that it becomes something that's spoken about.
Because I think a society at large, we're still dealing with the patriarchal aspect of the society we live in. So when you put on the first exhibition, were you surprised by the reaction of people who came to see it?
Well, the exhibition is actually happening on Wednesday.
As a Wednesday.
But I've had a couple of people, during the mentorship, you have critique sessions where people from different professions come and view your work. And it's been very interesting that a lot of people are finding things that relate to them in the body of work. And there's a lot of familiar things that people brought up with, it's always funny because you start something from a simple idea, and to see how it now becomes a conversation about, society. So critique sessions was really where I started seeing that this body of work has a greater conversation.
So you're obviously anticipating a nice turnout for the opening evening. But from a solo perspective, it could be quite daunting because this is so personal.
It is. And you're the only one. All eyes are on you. But I think I've had my time with the body of work, and I've wrestled with it enough. And I think I'm at a point where it's for the audience now to interact with it and to judge it, to love it and hate it. I think ultimately that's what you hope to do as an artist, is to create and release.
And also, I think in many ways to challenge, to have people who are viewing this to say, what am I doing to contribute to this? What was the surprising thing you discovered about yourself through this process?
That I had a lot to learn about myself, and that I'm still a process. You know, I think I learned a lot about where I come from, more than anything, because I started challenging these ideas from the four corners of my own home, and it kind of made sense. And from understanding that, I was able to understand things that I would accept and things that I would reject. And I think that's when my personal journey kind of began, when I understood where I was coming from.
Phumzile, thank you very much for joining us here in the studio. It's Phumzile Khanyile, and she's the third recipient of the Giselle Woolson Mentorship in Photography. The exhibition will be running from the 9th of February until the 19th of March. And of course, it'll be quite interesting to hear your thoughts on the exhibition. You can always email us morninglive@sabc.co.za.